there are no do-overs for your needs, and
Yeah.
5 reasons why you need to be utmost specific about your needs. And with you, of course, we mean you in general.
Yeah.
So, um, before I start, I
Hmm.
want to say for a sec, we're talking about serious topics here. So anyone who's going to say that we look cute, I can appreciate it. I mean, it's better than said that I'm not cute or you're not cute, but we are not here for other things. So just saying that out loud straight away. So the reason I came up with this was because someone said to me, um, I need a new wheelchair, and I have to do with that wheelchair like 5 to 7 years, or at least with the previous one, I had to do 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So she came up with a list, and it was a very pretty specific list. And the girl on the other side on the phone was pretty surprised that she had been so specific. And
Hmm.
then she made this one remark, and she said, well, how long do you use your shoes? 5 to 7 years as well? Or
Yeah.
what
Longer.
if they are not a good fit?
Yeah. I get to use my chair every 3 to 5 years before the insurance lets me have another one.
Yeah, and then how long does it take you before you have a new one?
It's every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, but then
It,
after three
but
to five years, you get a new request to put in,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you still have to wait.
yeah, about a year about that because they have to measure me and make it and all that stuff, and I've had it where they've done it wrong. Yeah,
Yeah, so all in all, 46 years easily.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
and then
they,
we're not going to talk about the paperwork to get it, to actually to get it paid for it. So
and this
it's
one in is it's less than 3 to 5 years, but the guy who owns the company that makes the chair did a whole new overhaul on everything, like the backing, the wheels, the casters, everything, because it's all breaking down even before the time is up.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you use it, right?
Yeah, it's just like my legs. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because even with those, do you have those scooters over there too, which people use to go into the supermarkets and all that?
Yeah, we have those. I've never ridden one, but yeah, we have them.
Yeah, well, I think the only time I actually was riding on one was when I was in the supermarket in the US. I think it was in Walmart, and they had this big shopping cart in front of them. So, what
Yeah,
a
they have
fun,
those. They look fun
yeah,
to ride. Never used one.
yeah. It's kind of fun. So my friend said, "Okay, you're going to use this one," but the thing is, they don't even have a place to hold your crutches. Can you
Yeah,
believe it?
no, no, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Oh, it's. I have to say, it's fun, and it's. I'm very grateful that in the big supermarkets there actually are like these electric carts to ride. But anyway, talking about those little scooters or whatever you want to
The
call
problem
them.
with there's like sometimes I've noticed where kids will just take them just for a joyride
Uh-huh.
and use them when they don't actually need them. That bothers me.
Yeah, yeah, and that will get us in a moment to the first reason, is to be utmost specific. What I wanted to say about those scooters, and that also brings me to the first reason, is um, most of the people here in the Netherlands who have those scooters,
Hmm.
they actually only use it to go to the grocery store and back. That's it. And to go shopping. So those are mostly elderly people, and they use it instead of using a car, basically,
Yeah.
or a bike. Or of course they can't ride the bike anymore then. Um, so whenever someone who is younger wants to use it, they're actually surprised that the batteries won't last.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
be
those
tired. Yeah, go on.
yeah, those things you have to charge and it takes a while.
Yeah, exactly. But and the longer you use them, and the more you use them, and especially if you use them for longer distances, they won't be able to keep up anymore. Those batteries.
No, yeah, yeah, they'll die. The more you use it, yeah, they'll die.
Yeah. So this brings us to the first reason why we need to be specific about our needs, and that is because others don't have any experiencing using whatever aid it is we are asking for.
Yeah,
And
people think using a wheelchair or crutches is fun. It's not, and it can be fun, but depending on how you look at it, but to us, it's how we get around. It's our legs. It's our normal. It's the only mobility we have. So it's not fun for me.
no, I agree. I agree with you. And here's the thing: they just don't know how things work. So I remember a couple of times it happened that I would go to a restroom. Well, actually, it would happen more than it wouldn't. That I would go to a restroom and it would be slippery. And when walking with crutches, that's a problem
Yeah.
because you need them to keep your balance, and especially if you only lean on one foot and your other one is in cast, you
Hmm.
don't want to, slide and whoop, and there you
Yeah.
go and lie down on your back, and it's even worse.
Especially in
So
a little area like that, like the bathroom stalls.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I've seen all things where you couldn't use the supports because they were facing the wall and you couldn't get them down. Um, the supports were covered in clothes. The disability um, restroom was filled with cleaning stuff
Hmm.
because they normally don't use it. The lady or the man behind the counter said, "Well, I cannot open it for you because you need a key and I'm all alone." Then I said, "Well, how about if you press that button you should have, and then the gate that opens, like
Yeah.
there's this structure and it turns in order
Hmm.
to get in." Well, that's not working with crutches. It's not working with a wheelchair. So I know they can get the rods to go down and you can go through the gate.
Okay.
That's when you have to pay for going to the restroom. Um, have
Yeah.
you ever heard that? That you have to pay
No,
for a restroom?
no, we never had
Oh,
the only problem I have with restrooms is people who don't need them using the one stall that we have because
yeah,
there's only one handicap stall, and there's usually like 10 open stalls that like are unused for people that don't need them, don't
yeah.
need handicap stall. And when I go in the handicap stall and it's open, I use my chair and I can't turn around. And you're supposed to, the accessibility rule here anyway is you're supposed to be able to do a 360,
Yes.
and sometimes you can't. So they take call it accessible, but it's really not.
No, so for people who do not know, you usually go in forward because the door goes inwards. So
Hmm.
you want to push it inwards, but then when you're in there, then of course you need to turn. So first of all, you'll be able to access the toilet, but second of all, which you want to do prior to it, is you want to lock the door again.
Yeah. Oftentimes I'll have to leave the door open because there's not enough room.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and
yeah, I do.
yeah, and even when you have done all you need to do, and then you want to get out, then the door needs to be open towards you. You
Yeah.
need even more room.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that's and that's what people do not think about. They build things, but they do not think about the specifics and what's needed. And so when you ask for something, they don't know what to look for. I mean,
Hmm.
it's same with uh, the mailboxes, Then they have, "Hey, Terry, if you want to join, just
Okay.
come on in." It's the same with the mailboxes. They have buildings for people in wheelchairs, and they make sure that you can get in. And then when you have to reach for your mail, oh, oops, it's the top level.
Yeah, yeah. There's oftentimes I'll have to like reach for the top shelf on like in a grocery store or something like that if there's no one around because oftentimes there's not enough attendance for anything like that. So yeah, I have to reach. Thankfully, I have long arms.
Yes, and some other people they just go sit on the wheel instead of on in the seat. And that's the only way to go up. So, which brings us to number two. So, besides people not having a clue how to use something, then people have to decide what
Hmm.
to give you, what kind of aid you need, and what specifics you need, when in fact they don't know about any technical specifics. Let's talk about wheelchairs. There are so many different kind of wheelchairs and what you can do
Yeah,
with it.
yeah.
Well, you are the expert, so uh,
Well, oftentimes I'll people will try to push me without even asking.
oh, that's
That
nice,
yeah,
really.
they'll come up to me and start pushing me and think that they're helping me, but the way I look at it is that it's like a personal space issue. If you don't know me, don't touch me.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
they're helping.
great.
So that's what I'm trying to do with well, part of what I'm trying to do with the education, telling people how to ask for help or have to ask if they need help or what to do and like how can we help you or do you need help? Just you know asking and instead of just doing.
Yeah, yeah. The first question is, of course, can we help you? And
Yeah,
then the next question would be, if so, how?
yeah,
And they don't realize that you probably have a certain system in mind when you do certain things, how to
yeah,
get, over a bump or go up or downwards or whatever it is. And you probably require some balance in order to do it. And when they disrupt that balance,
yeah. It's funny you say that because when I do something, if somebody tries to help me, it it oftentimes will make it harder than them trying to help me and
yeah,
make me faster. Because I've been doing this for so long that I know what I'm doing, so it'll
well,
be
that's
quicker
it.
if I just do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's the thing. If we don't know what we're talking about, then how can we be helped out
Yeah.
by those who do not know what we are talking about? That
Hmm.
yeah. So that's the most frustrating thing when it comes to being sponsored by other people. If we need a certain device, whether it's a wheelchair or a brace or whatever it is, please know the specifics of what you're going to subscribe for me. So it's the thing which will actually help us out and not work against us. So, like for instance, if you need like a good seat in your wheelchair, so you can have a good support in your back,
Hmm.
or say that you only can partially stand for some time and partially sit for some time, you need to be able to get out, get that support. Maybe you even need a wheelchair where you can actually go up in the air a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
those are expensive as hell though. Like
yeah, exactly. But I mean,
more
say
expensive than
say
a car.
you work at, yeah, go on.
They're more expensive than a car.
Yeah, yeah, but again, how often do we use our car and how often are we going to use that wheelchair?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I use my chair more often than I use my car. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And that's something that people are not aware of the use of such a device. And especially the ones who have a special seating and are able to go up and go down, you don't ask them for a certain reason. You
Yeah.
have a specific reason why you want that kind of chair.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, if you need it for support or comfort or anything, I mean, because the more you're in a chair or setting up, it'll hurt you. It could hurt your back or make your back worse or like discomfort or because I have scoliosis
Hmm.
and like so like I'm prone to bed sores because of my chair, so I have to constantly move my body to make sure that that doesn't happen. So you have to make sure you're self-aware of your needs so that you can express those to other people.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm talking about this. Think about hospital beds, or maybe a bed you've got in your own home, one
Yeah,
which can go up and can go down, and which may help you get up, sit upright. Um, those are the things that people have no clue that with those beds there also come mattresses, and sometimes you need good mattresses in order to not get those wounds you're talking about.
yeah. You're constantly having to move, and like for me, my legs, I don't feel my legs, so like I have to move them more often than I would normally to make sure that they don't break down or nothing happens to them. Because if something happens to them, I'm not gonna know about it.
Yeah, and that's something people are not aware of. That since you can't feel it, you won't know it
Yeah,
until it might be too late, and you might
yeah,
have ruptured skin, or you might have blisters, and
yeah.
they might not. Um, um, they might not. What do you call it? Heal as easily
Yeah,
because you're not walking.
I take forever to heal.
Yeah, exactly. Because you are, of course, walking. You are hardly ever walking, and that makes it very, very difficult for the wounds to heal again because they
Yeah,
need that blood flow, that ever-going blood flow.
yeah.
So, and especially when you go to a hospital,
I'm,
I've
well,
noticed that if you don't say I need that kind of mattress, which
mhm,
will help me prevent getting those wounds,
mhm.
you're not going to get it.
Yeah,
And then after a week or 2 weeks, it's bye bye, and you're like, oh my, I have a problem.
yeah. And I'm constantly moving my body and like massaging my legs to make sure that there's enough blood flow and circulation
Hmm.
is good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, so the first one, um, people don't know what the experience is like. The second one, they don't know what the specifics, as in the technicalities, are like. And 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 there's a third one, and actually, when we were talking about the hospital bed and the mattress, we are talking about it. There are no do-overs. So this is not just about preventing yourself from getting hurt, as in even worse, but we are also talking about the insane amount of money that
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
linked to all
Yeah.
those devices and equipment. So we talked about a wheelchair, which is about which is as expensive as a car, and of
Well,
course they don't want to subscribe that
yeah.
to just about anyone.
Hmm.
But
It
there are
depends.
also, yes.
The regular wheelchairs are around here are usually between like 4 or 5 thousand, and my braces are anywhere between 10 to 15 thousand.
Okay,
So
well, that
the insurance.
says enough.
Yeah.
I'm cheap compared to you. That's for certain.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, of course, I don't use, well, I use my braces, of course, quite a number of times, but I still don't use them 24/7 because they've asked me not to.
Hmm.
So I keep using my muscles on my own. But as for other stuff, um, yeah, it all depends on what you need, what kind of function you need. And if I just compared you to me, then all I basically needed was a lightweight wheelchair so I could move around on my own
Hmm.
and I could do my own things, but I knew that I wouldn't have to use it like it was more like for a couple of weeks at a time and then maybe for a day. So I needed to be able to get around, which I cannot do with a normal big wheel wheelchair because it's way too heavy for me.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, as opposed to a lightweight wheelchair. Whoa, how did they come up with those words? Um, and today I was looking at the ramp of the restaurant where I was eating, and I was like, ah, yeah, that's a nice ramp. And if I had to do that by myself in a wheelchair, I would not have been happy. That would have been really hard work. And I know
Yeah.
what hard work is like, so
Yeah.
because I've experienced it. But you, of course, are someone who's far more dependent on that wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you, like you said, you need to be able to move around
Yeah.
and also need good support. So,
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, this chair is a lightweight chair,
mhm,
so I can like put it in my car, and if I needed to, I could take it over my head, but I don't need to.
mhm,
Um, and the ramps are pretty easy to get up.
mhm,
I mean, some are steep, it takes longer and it's more difficult, but I get it done. But it's generally pretty easy to move around it, uh, as long as none of the parts are broken. Like
oh
I,
yeah.
I just got my brakes fixed after months and months of not having brakes,
Mhm.
which is not fun for if you have to park yourself on a hill. Yeah,
I get it. I get it. So one of those things, talking about a lightweight wheelchair, but also about being able to go up the sidewalks and all that stuff.
yeah.
Um, People don't think about um, the support where you put your feet on, and also about the it's like a support system for people so they don't fall backwards. But because they keep you from
Really,
preventing from falling backwards, so they put these things in place instead of little wheels.
I call them wheelie bars.
Are they maybe okay?
Wheelie bars, yeah.
Yeah.
They're
So the
just like
question, of course, is
bar
does it
wheels.
prevent you? It's nice that you can go backwards and pull backwards, but when you need to be able to go backwards, so you can actually go across. Um, um, oh, today I just said the word and now I'm done with it. When you need to go over a bump, that
Yeah,
one, then
yeah,
you need to be able to go, back.
yeah. I always roll over the bump slowly and just like lean my weight forward so that I don't fall back. That's how I.
Hmm. Okay, so you don't need to make sort of like a wheelie first before
Well,
you go.
it depends on how big the lip is. Like if
Yeah.
it's just a bump, no. If it's like a big step, then yes.
Okay. So when you make that big step, then we get to the question again. What do you
Yeah.
want when it comes to those back wheels?
Just ones that won't strong enough wheelie bars that'll not have me fall back on my head.
Yeah.
That's all. Just be
Yeah.
strong enough to not let me fall. And I've had that happen where I've fallen on my head. Well, not my head, but my back,
Hmm.
because when I know I'm gonna fall, I lean my head forward to
Hmm.
make sure that I don't crack open like a
Yeah.
melon. But yeah, so it hurts my back, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And of course safety first, but it needs to be safety in all
Yeah.
situations.
Hmm.
That's basically, I guess, what we're talking about. And then we get, of course, the material of the wheels on the wheelchair.
Yeah.
That's a nice one too.
Yeah.
So I remember going through gravel with a wheelchair at a festival terrain, and they said, yeah, it's accessible for people in wheelchairs. Mm.
Yeah.
I remember having gone through that gravel like 10 minutes, no, not even 10 minutes, and then one wheel broke, and it
Yeah.
was a special one.
Hmm.
And they had to fix it, and
I
of
cast
course,
little ones
you.
fall off. I've had my casters, the little wheels, fall
Mhm.
off.
Yes, I'm talking about those.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, the physical injuries as a result can be major.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize. So I remember being at that festival. So first of all, the wheelchair didn't work anymore. Second of all, we could go to the ER tent because she had to lie down
Mhm.
because of the pain she had experienced, and then we had to get it fixed. And that was an even bigger problem. Well, I'm not going to say that it was a bigger problem than pain she had experienced, because that was huge. But they didn't have those little wheels, the ones she wanted, because you've got those with thick rubber, more like wheels for when you have on a bike, and then you have the ones who are a bit more sturdy,
Mhm.
which are more which you can use through the gravel and all that stuff. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they say, yeah, but most people only use one, then we don't have the other one. And yeah, it's going to cost us like a week or two in order to get them. Ooh, man, we have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. That can be a problem.
Yeah. So I
I
think we got them to um, deliver another wheelchair later, and they taken off those front wheels, those little wheels, so she would have temporary new wheels. But then we said we want an extra set, because if it ever happens again, we want them um, to be in stock,
yeah.
and we didn't trust them to be in stock when we needed them over at their factory.
Mhm. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Uh, I was talking to my wheelchair guy, and they said the brakes that I needed usually took 2 weeks, but because of COVID, it was going to take more like 8.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. COVID also messed up a lot of things, because the parts would come from China and they couldn't come anymore because they weren't made, because they were all ill.
Yeah.
And there were, of course, other people not working anymore. I assume that it was something along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah. The parts to take forever to get them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Again, people don't realize what the consequences can be if they don't order you what you need, or they say you're not going to get a spare set of whatever.
Yeah. And it's another thing. The first set of the brakes that I had ordered, they ordered them wrong.
Hmm.
So it took me like 4 months to get a pair of brakes
Yeah.
because they ordered them wrong, and then it was slightly right, but it was just wrong. They wouldn't fit. So
Yeah, and that's something they don't think about either. The kind of material, how often do you use it, what's the size of your wheelchair, how's it built.
yeah, yeah. They don't like they just think about like the bottom line, getting the order done, getting the price, and that's it. They
Yeah.
don't and they don't think about like what the person actually needs.
Hmm. Which brings us to the next thing, which is the price, which is usually, like you said, outrageous.
Yeah,
And we know that it is. And of course, it has to do um, with material, who can deliver them, what's needed. But I believe you also have some other ideas why the prices were so immensely high.
well, the reason I think they're high is because they know we need them, so they can charge whatever they want.
Yeah, that could be true. That could be true.
Yeah.
Because there are not too many of it, the price also increases, and it's a lot of manual work instead of you know mechanical. I'm not saying that right. So it's done by hand. That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, which also increases price a lot. But here's the thing that if people don't fight for those prices, they won't go down.
no,
And Why would they? Because there are only a few people who use them. But when they need it, they're like, it's
Yeah,
way too high.
yeah, they
And
wouldn't. No one would fight for it unless it became more of an issue.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it might become more of an issue, however, with a lot of people getting older, needing more
Hmm.
assistance, needing more support. But then again, they don't need those specific wheelchairs. What I've noticed is whenever I go somewhere, uh, um, take the IKEA for instance. Well, I assume you've got the IKEA over there as well.
Yeah, yeah, we do.
Okay, so they've got wheelchairs standing in line there, but they expect someone to push you because they're not big wheelchairs. So
Hmm.
you need someone to push you, through the store. And I was at some point like, okay, I don't know, but how about you make it so I can use my wheelchair and go from one place to another? Or
Yeah,
you walk with me instead of saying you need to take someone with you. I mean, don't we have the right to choose to go and do shopping whenever we want and not have to wait for someone else to accompany us?
yeah.
And that's,
It's
yeah,
basic rights. Yeah, I've
yeah,
actually one IKEA years ago. I don't really remember it.
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you want to go shopping, you should be able to go shopping whenever you want and
yes,
be able
yeah,
to go where you want in the store.
hmm yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
stores
And
are.
And that was one of the things that I was pretty annoyed about because I either had to use my wheelchair
Hmm?
to go in there because it's, of course, a big, big store. Um, because if I were to use my crutches, I wouldn't be able to stand in line that long for the cash register.
Yeah.
And and that's a big difference what I've seen in the Netherlands opposed to, for instance, the US. In the US, that they are more likely to help you out straight away, which I think is a really good thing. But in the Netherlands, they say, can do it. And
Yeah,
that
there's two
was,
things that they'll help you, but oftentimes I get like completely ignored.
mm-hmm,
They'll like actually talk to my wife or whoever else I'm with and help them or ask them questions, or they'll just not even look at me. That's
mm-hmm.
one thing I've noticed.
Yeah, but also in order to get access to the person who may be able to help you out, you need to get out of line to go there, well, and try to get back in line. And of course, you don't want to get back in line because there's a reason you were going out of line. So again, they expect you to have someone else with you. And like
Hmm.
you said, when you have someone else with you, they don't talk to you, but to the other
Yeah,
person.
yeah,
So that's and I'm often surprised that um, they somehow seem to be expecting that when you need support, that they expect you to be with someone else.
yeah.
And I mean, how can they expect your partner to do all the work that specialized people are supposed to do?
Hmm. Yeah. And that's another thing. Oftentimes, people will think that like uh, the people I'm with are my nurse
Hmm
or like the person that's supposed to be taking care of me,
Yeah,
and I just assume that without asking, or they'll be surprised if I'm by myself.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's again about um, who is the person who's with you? What do they want to do? What can they do? Even if someone is with you, that doesn't mean they can do everything for you. You might need help from someone else other than the person who is with you.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, you like you said, the person you're with might not necessarily have those have the knowledge or the education or the ability to do what you need them to do.
Yeah, exactly. they may not have the flexibility or the strength or
Yeah.
whatever is needed. I remember that when I had a problem with my ankle, I would still be pushed in a wheelchair from someone else because no one else would do it. And
Hmm.
later on, and it's actually kept it on film. And I was looking at it and I was like, oh my God, why did I do it? Why in heaven's name? And I know why, because I wanted to help out the other. But in the process, I did ruin the healing of my ankle, of course.
The what?
That's
What part?
Well, I had problems with my ankle, so I was still wearing either a brace or I was in a cast brace. But I would also help someone else who was in a wheelchair, and then every once in a while I needed to push the wheelchair when we would go uphill, or those little things which are easier when someone just gives you a little um, push or helps you out, going across a step or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, and I would know what she would need, but that didn't mean that it was helpful for me because I would have to put weight on my bad ankle,
Hmm.
which was still healing, or it wasn't even healing, it was still in a bad place. So then I would basically overdo it for myself,
Hmm.
and I would be in a bad place afterwards. And that's why I said I know why I did it because I wanted to help the other person, but I'm also aware that it worked against me. And so when I saw it a couple of years ago and I was watching the movie, which was made about her and a couple of other people with service dogs and in wheelchairs, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, it's captured on film. The stupid version of me. Well, the stupid version, of course not, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Clumsy.
So that's not clumsy. It was. I should have thought about it and asked other help, even though there
Okay.
was no other help available. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah. So okay. So going back to get it straight away. We talked about how expensive it is, and because it's so expensive, a lot of times we won't get a second chance to order something.
Yeah.
And you can just hand it back, especially when they've changed a lot of things for you.
Hmm. Yeah. You get. I have the way I have to do is I have to call them, tell them what's wrong, and then they'll send a guy out. They'll look at it, order parts, and then it takes however long that takes, which is weeks or a month or however long or longer.
Yeah. So basically, it means when you've got, say, in your case, a wheelchair, that it might happen that you need to change parts along the way that gets more suitable for you.
Yeah. I mean, like just like before, I had brakes. Both my brakes broke on both wheels, and it took about 2 months to fix. Actually, longer than that because they ordered the wrong parts, so it took probably about 3 or 4 months. So it just depends on if they order the right parts and how quickly they can get here, and then how quickly they can get the parts, and how quickly they can come and install the parts, and it's a whole big thing. It's a
Yeah,
big.
that's why I learned to use serial numbers and part numbers, write them down, take a picture.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to have that argument once I've had it for the first time. Like, okay, I know that you don't know what I'm talking about. I do know what she's talking about. We need this part, and if you
Yeah.
don't know what part it is, then okay, here's part number. Look it
Yeah.
up. Because of the time it takes to order it, get the right one. If it's not the right one, they need you to get a new one. And of course, the time before the mechanic can come to see you,
Hmm.
that there's a lot of time which is involved that people do not realize.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same right now with my right knee brace. So I think I asked about it the same time when I asked for the left one, which was in July or in August last year. So I've had it for several months now, and about, I don't know, about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, I finally got the okay for my right knee brace. Um, but here's the thing: they completely changed the whole process of
Mm-hmm.
pimping the brace. And if they had done it straight away, I would have had two similar braces,
Mm-hmm.
looking alike. And now one, they had a design. I could choose like from 12 designs. And for the right one, I have to give them a design. And I'm like, yeah, that's nice, but that's not the way it's going to work. And because now there's, um, at first, of course, I needed the doctor to say, oh, yeah, it's okay. And he puts a stamp on it. Then I need to get a date with, or yeah, well, let's call it a date, an appointment with the guy who's going to measure my leg and see what kind of brace is needed. Then they need to order it, but then they need to know which design I want. And prior to it,
Yeah.
I, of course, got Corona. And I said during that week, like, okay, I've seen changes. So I called them and I said, well, you know, I can't come this week because of Corona, but maybe because I knew it would take me some time.
Mm-hmm.
And you heard what I said because I saw you freezing up a little bit again.
Uh, Froze up a
Okay.
little bit. You cut it out. I'm not sure what you said.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, it was about the design and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I asked them to check it out. And then, so when I got to the guy, he measured it all. And then he said, yeah, okay, so which design do you want? And I said, well, I don't know, but I called you last week and I asked about it. And I said, I talked to the lady for over an hour and I sent examples to her. So what happened with all of this? And
Mm-hmm.
now we are 2 or 3 weeks down the line and still nothing has been ordered because they are between the manufacturer who is between the manufacturer who is in the US. So we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about three people or three parties involved.
Yeah.
And I decided to, and so I called him like a week or 2 weeks ago and I said, well, how about if I call that person in the Netherlands who is talking to the other persons and I explain to them what they want? And then today I was writing in this email and I realized, like, okay, if I'm going to explain it to the other lady who's in charge of the manufacturer in the Netherlands, then probably the one who's going to do it in the US still won't get it. So I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'll write one in Dutch. So that's for the person in the Netherlands. And then I'll do one in English straight away. So
Mm-hmm.
they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, because as much as I would like, I do not trust them to be able to translate it in the way, and especially understand it in the way I want it. Because, just going from the supplier where I go to, so who measured my leg and the measurements for the brace, he couldn't get across what I wanted. So,
Yeah.
why is the next one going to get across what I want?
Yeah. I mean, it's just if you want something done, you have to do it yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
you're the best one to explain something to somebody else because if you it translates badly or not correctly, I should say, from person to person.
Yeah, and that's it. And then we come back to specifics, technicalities. You need to know what you're talking about and what it's used for.
Yeah. Because they
Yeah.
know what you need, write it down, be as specific as possible.
Hmm.
Because if you don't exactly talk about what you need, explain what you need, you're going to get something totally different.
Yeah. And of course, this is $1,000 brace, so it's not a cheap one. It's custom
No.
made. So I want to get a new one pretty soon. So
Yeah.
I want to write one straight away, and that's why I said, okay, I will. I don't mind creating a design, although I do mind. I would like to have the experts,
Yeah.
But what I do mind is that I do not get to see what it's going to look like before you actually spend all that money
Mm-hmm.
making that one.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It takes a while. Yeah.
yeah. So then what's the last one? I'm going to put you to the side for a second. Ah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's basically what we talked about. So that's the time, the amount of time that we need to use um, our the equipment, the aid, and like we said, it's you never know how long it will take for you to get
Yeah.
the stuff. And just recently, for instance, I went to this eye clinic. So I have got contact lenses which are made out of gel. So I've got dry eyes, drier than normal.
Yeah.
So and they call it negative tear something.
Mm-hmm.
um, but basically, normal contact lenses they use the fluids in your eyes
Mm-hmm.
to remain, fluid enough and not be really dry because once you get them out of your eyes, they roll up and they shrivel and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I've got gel contact lenses, which are quite expensive. They're like €1 a piece per
Mm-hmm.
day, so €2 a day. So say $2 a day.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, and that times 365 days a year.
Yeah.
So that's not cheap.
No.
So um, so in the past it was if you want to get new glasses, they said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the insurance I started with that we're paying for it all. And then it was we're paying for 80%. Then it was we're paying €150 per 2 years. Now we're down to €100 per 2 years. And I said, yeah, what's €100 per 2 years when I have to spend €2 per day
Yeah.
just on my contact lenses? And then we're not talking about the glasses, which of course are also like all combined, well, somewhere between, let's say, circa €500,
Yeah.
with the frame and all that stuff and the glasses in there. But here was the thing, and that surprised me most. They didn't think about the difference for me between what I saw with my glasses on and what I see with my contacts in.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, yeah, you see 100% with your glasses. I said, yeah, with my right eye, not with my left one because I couldn't see anything with my left eye. I said, but still, it's not the same as when I have my contacts in. I said, especially late at night. I said, everything is gray here. So we jokingly call it 50 shades of gray of what's down the street. So when it's raining, the curves are gray, the asphalt is gray. So you have no clue as to where you are on the road and how much width is there. And
Yeah.
especially when it's raining and everything is shining. So they do a lot of road constructions here and then they put on yellow paint and they scrape the yellow paint off again. But the white stripes which are supposed to be on there aren't just that reflective anymore. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what they did with it, but after a while you can't see them anymore because of all the cars going across it. And that's the time that I would be driving with my glasses on. And yeah, that's nice, but I don't have a clue what I'm looking at. And you want me to drive safely? And I said, you know what they do during the night? I said, they turn off the lights. And
Oh, wow.
I realized that you don't have any lights on the highway normally, but in roads where they normally do not have any lights, they have like reflectors on the side of the roads,
Yeah.
so you know where it's going. You know when it's going straight ahead, when there's a curve ahead, or whatever it is, and that's a big difference compared to us. So we actually don't see what's going on, and they don't take those things into consideration, and that's something I'm like, yeah, it's nice what you're saying, but don't expect me to be able to do it with glasses. And back in the days when you had a certain um, when it was bad enough, they would
Hmm.
say like, okay, we'll pay for those
Yeah.
contact lenses or whatever it is, or for your glasses. But nowadays, uh, basically the eye surgeon or whoever it is needs to say, yeah, that person can see much better, or it's not sufficient enough with glasses. It's probably not sufficient enough with glasses.
Yeah.
But they don't take the whole picture into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
So, and that's probably the most difficult thing. So, on a lighter note, what can we say about all those specific things? Well, my brace with the stars and the stripes. That's always
Yeah.
a good thing. And you used to have pink wheelchairs, but they're not that pink
I
anymore, right?
for my 40th birthday, a couple of friends of mine got me spinners
Yeah.
wheelchair. So, and they brought them out. We were at this bar for my 40th birthday, and they brought them out, and they showed them to me, and we were laughing our asses off putting these spinners on. It's
Yeah.
basically just silver pieces of plastic that would just spin independently from the chair, from the wheels. But it was cool. I mean,
Yeah, it's nice. But it's when you use something, it's like when you pick out your clothes
mhm.
and you choose them, you also look at the color and the pattern, and you
Yeah,
don't want the same thing every day, maybe. And if you have to use it for a longer period of time, you want it to be, you know, representing you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's and I guess that's the cool thing, because a lot of people, when they see the brace, at first they don't realize it's a brace, and then when they do realize it's a brace, it's like, oh, okay, that's cool.
yeah,
And yeah, and that's one of the things, it gives people a chance to see a little bit more about you
yeah.
if you want to.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It depends
And
on.
yeah, go on.
No, it just depends on what you're willing to share and what you want them to know about you, and uh, how they are going to respond to what you tell them.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with a car. You can have a sports car, you cannot. You can have like leather seats or not. It's all those little different things. You can have a bright red car or a black car, or maybe,
Yeah,
a white,
yeah.
whatever it is. But it usually represents part of who you are.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, a car is a car. It gets me around. That's all I care about.
Okay, it gets you from A to B. Well, truth be told, the car I'm driving, I didn't pick it myself. But if I would get another car, it probably would be similar to this one, because
Yeah.
it's you know it suits really well. It's nice. It sits really well, and it's a station car, so I can put a lot of stuff in there. So
Hmm.
it's yeah, it's a really good one. It's I'm very happy to have this one. So yeah, getting back to, there are no do-overs for your needs. Well, for those who have missed it, if you are depending on certain things, whether it's a wheelchair or a brace or whatever it is, or Scoot Mobile, be sure to know what it is you're asking for, because you cannot count on the other party to know what you are going to use it for and how it works, and um, what when we talk about technical um, um, the technical parts and what it can do, the techniques behind it. We cannot expect them to understand that either. And things are expensive, and that's why it's so important
Yeah.
to think about, okay, what it is you need, because you probably have to deal with it for a longer period of time. So next time you look at someone, like Michael said, and you see someone, think a second or two longer before you assume what it is the other one needs. whether it's getting them support, touching them, or whatever else it is. Um, it's a person in there. So, and be sure to know they know what they're talking about, and you probably are not. And so, unless you do, just ask.
Yeah, expressing yourself specifically and is just important, and just telling them, speaking up for yourself regardless is important, but being specific is even more important.
Yeah. And the good news is, when you get to do it, communication will improve. It will not only improve with the one who is needing you at that moment, or you think they are needing you, but it will also be of the essence with other people you're talking about communicating with. And as for yourself, you will be able to speak out way better when you're a better listener. Anything to add?
No, I'm good. That's it. That's all I have.
Okay. Well, guys, we see you again next week,
Okay.
and for another round. And you will be on next Friday. I will be on next Wednesday with our shows. So we love to see you then.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.